It was a warm Sunday. The house was full. Laughter, voices, and plates clinking filled the air. Tasha's parents sat near the center, surrounded by cousins and friends. Everyone looked fresh, loud, important. At the far end, Samuel sat quietly. No one spoke to him. No one even looked his way. Tasha began serving. Her father first. Hot, fresh food on a proper plate. Then her mother. Then the cousins. Smiles, small jokes, polite nods. Then she went to the fridge. Unwrapped foil, cold leftovers, dumped them onto a paper plate. Walked it over to Samuel without looking at him. There wasn't much left, she said. Her father smirked. You serve the ones who raised you right, not the ones who just drop things off. The room went quiet. Derek looked down, said nothing. Samuel didn't argue. He just nodded slightly, picked up the spoon. His hand shook. Not from age, from something else. He took a bite. No taste. Just cold. Cold food. Cold heart. Cold house. Samuel had spent 35 years behind the wheel of a truck, driving long miles across the country. He hauled everything from food to furniture, anything to make sure his son, Derek, never wanted for anything. Weeks would go by without seeing Derek's face, missing birthdays, school plays, even the simple bedtime stories. But Samuel always sent money home, sometimes more than he could afford. The thought of Derek growing up without worry kept him going. Life on the road wasn't easy. Samuel ate alone, pulling over at random truck stops, eating whatever was cheap or quick. Sometimes it was cold sandwiches. Other times it was a cup of coffee from a gas station. Nights were spent in the cab of his truck or the occasional motel, far from home and warmth. Showers were taken in grimy restrooms, the sound of cars outside the only company. When Derek was just 5, his mother couldn't handle the strain anymore. She left. Samuel never spoke badly of her. He simply said, "We move forward." With no one else to lean on, he raised Derek alone. Their connection was stretched thin over phone calls, voice messages, and birthday cards sent through the mail. Samuel worked hard to make sure Derek's school fees were paid. Before he even thought about buying new clothes for himself, Derek grew up fast. Driven by the sacrifices his father made, he pushed himself to the top. He got into a prestigious law school, landed a job at a respected law firm, and married Tasha, a woman from a wealthy family who fit perfectly into the world Derek had built. But while Derek moved forward, Samuel's body slowed. A heart condition forced him to retire early. Now, he lived quietly in the guest room of Derek's big suburban house, trying to recover, but feeling more like an outsider. This house, full of laughter, music, and the noise of privilege, was not the home Samuel had dreamed of when he worked those long miles. Here, no one asked about the years he spent on the road, the lonely nights, the sacrifices he made. His pain was invisible, his presence unnoticed. He was a ghost in the very place he had helped build, a man forgotten in the shadow of success. That night, after the cold paper plate, Samuel sat alone in Derek's quiet guest room. The laughter and chatter from earlier still echoed faintly through the walls, but now all Samuel heard was silence, thick, heavy, and empty. His heart ached, not from pain or age, but from something deeper, something he hadn't felt in a long time: rejection. Slowly he pulled out a worn duffel bag from the closet. With careful hands he folded a few clothes and packed them inside. Nothing fancy, just what he could carry. On the small desk, he took a pen and a sheet of paper, the ink flowing steady as he wrote a simple note. The words felt heavy but honest. A man can eat cold food, but not a cold heart. He placed the letter where Derek would find it easily, on his study desk, and then sat back, staring out the window into the dark street below. Before the sun could rise, before anyone could wake, Samuel quietly slipped out the door and disappeared into the night. Morning came, and Derek woke up, groggy and confused. His eyes fell on the note immediately. He read it once, then twice. The words sank in slowly, like a weight settling in his chest. He swallowed hard, but said nothing. Something inside him twisted, a quiet pain he had pushed aside for years, now demanding attention. Tasha entered the room, noticing Derek's serious face. "What's wrong?" she asked. But when she saw the note, she rolled her eyes. "He's being dramatic. Let him cool off. You know how your dad gets." Her father sat nearby, sipping coffee, laughing with Tasha's mother. He glanced at the note and scoffed. "He got fed, didn't he? What's the problem?" Derek wanted to say something to defend his father, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, He just stared out the window, feeling the silence press harder. His mind drifted back years to a time when things were simpler, but still broken. A young Derek, only 8 years old, clutching a phone tightly in his small hands, tears streaming down his face as he asked, "Why didn't you come to my recital, Dad?" The voice on the other end was weak, distant, but full of love. Samuel whispered from some faraway truck stop, "So you could have shoes to wear to it." That memory struck Derek like a punch to the gut. All those moments missed, all the sacrifices made quietly, swallowed by years of distance and silence. He sat there in his big house, surrounded by wealth and noise, but feeling emptier than ever. Something inside him shifted. The guilt, the regret, the unspoken apologies, they all crowded his heart. But for now he said nothing. He just sat, alone with the letter and the weight it carried. Samuel found a quiet refuge living with James, his old trucking buddy, who had settled down as a mechanic in a small town. The room above the garage was tiny, barely enough space for a bed and some clothes, but it was filled with respect and friendship, something Samuel hadn't felt in a long time. James treated him like a brother, not just a guest, and for the first time in months, Samuel felt seen. The local church community and some of his former trucking partners began checking in on him, bringing meals and company. Slowly, Samuel started volunteering at a youth mentorship group, sharing stories from his life on the road and teaching young people about resilience and hard work. A small, genuine smile returned to his face. One day, a photo of Samuel serving meals at a community shelter caught attention online. The caption read, "This man raised a lawyer. Now he feeds strangers with dignity." It spread quickly. People admired his humility and strength. Comments flooded in asking, "Where is his son?" Derek saw the post. A deep shame settled over him. At work, he tried to explain, but the weight of guilt pressed harder. Tasha called the viral post embarrassing, brushing it off as a joke. But Derek couldn't shake the feeling that something important had broken between him and his father. One night, he looked at Tasha and asked quietly, "Have we become the kind of people I promised myself I'd never be?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. Derek began skipping meetings, driving alone to places from his past. He visited the old truck stop Samuel once called home, feeling the distance between them grow even wider. Then, by chance, he found voice notes Samuel had left years ago on his old phone. Simple messages full of love. "Missed you today. Drive safe. Love you." Tears welled up in Derek's eyes, but still he didn't call. The silence between father and son stretched longer, but somewhere deep inside, Derek knew the time was coming when he'd have to face the truth. Derek's world started to crumble when a powerful client accused him of tampering with evidence. The accusation was false, but the damage was immediate. His law firm, once a place of confidence and respect, turned cold and distant. Partners who had once praised him avoided his calls. Clients cancelled meetings, and whispers followed him down the marble halls. The spotlight wasn't on the truth, it was on the doubt. For the first time, Derek felt truly alone. The walls he'd built around his pride and success seemed to collapse overnight. His phone stayed silent, except for one name that kept echoing in his mind, his father's. Without hesitation, Derek got in his car and drove 2 hours out of the city to the small mechanic shop where Samuel lived now. When he arrived, Samuel was bent over a car engine, his back turned, fingers greasy but steady. Derek stood there for a moment, gathering every ounce of courage, then broke down completely. "Dad, please, I'm drowning," he said, voice cracking, tears falling freely. Samuel didn't move. He just looked at Derek long and hard, his eyes steady and heavy with years of pain and disappointment. Finally he spoke, voice low but clear. "Your silence hurt more than any courtroom ever could." Derek flinched, the words cutting deeper than any accusation. He hadn't just ignored his father, he had shut him out entirely. But then Samuel nodded slowly, a silent sign of something more. Acceptance, forgiveness, maybe even hope. Without another word, Samuel picked up the phone and started making calls. One by one, old trucking friends, a retired judge who owed Samuel respect, people who knew Derek's true character. Each spoke up for him quietly but firmly. Their voices carried weight where Derek's couldn't. In the end, the case was dismissed quietly. No headlines, no fanfare. Derek had won the fight, but knew deep down the victory wasn't his alone. The story leaked anyway. The press caught wind and spun the headline. Estranged father quietly saves high-profile son. This time, Derek didn't hide from the attention. He posted a simple message alongside a photo of Samuel fixing a car, worn hands steady on the engine. He built the road I walked. I just forgot to thank him. For the first time in years, Derek wasn't just a son in the shadows. He was a man finally willing to stand beside the father who never stopped waiting. Derek stepped inside the house, feeling the weight of everything that had changed, and everything that needed to change. The walls seemed too quiet, too empty after all the noise of his absence. He knew this moment wouldn't be easy. Tasha was tense, her eyes sharp with disbelief. Her parents sat stiffly on the couch, arms crossed, murmuring behind polite smiles. Derek took a deep breath and called everyone to the dining room. His voice was steady, unshakable. My father is moving in, and he eats first. The room froze. Tasha's face flushed with anger and confusion. What? Are you serious? He's just here now, like some guest. Her father scoffed loudly. This is nonsense. Our family deserves better than this. Tasha's parents exchanged looks, then got up abruptly and left the room, their footsteps heavy with disapproval. But Derek didn't flinch. This was his decision. Samuel returned a few days later, not to the guest room where he'd been quietly tucked away, but to the master bedroom, the heart of the house. The change was subtle but profound. The house felt slower, more real, as if finally shedding the layers of pretense that had built up over years of silence and distance. One Sunday, Samuel surprised everyone by cooking breakfast. The scent of frying eggs and fresh bread filled the kitchen. Derek sat beside him, passing plates across the table, the simple act feeling like a bridge being rebuilt. At the table sat Mr. Bradley, a wealthy family friend, who had never quite accepted Samuel's presence. When Samuel handed him a single paper plate with a steady hand, the room grew quiet. It's not the plate, Mr. Bradley, Samuel said softly, eyes locked on the man. It's the respect. Remember that. Mr. Bradley swallowed hard, his usual smugness replaced by something else. Acknowledgement. He said nothing but never forgot. From that day on, Samuel was no longer the silent shadow in the background. He was the man of the house, respected, seen, and finally at peace. Derek realized that true strength wasn't in wealth or titles, but in the respect we give and receive from those who built us. He was no longer ashamed. This was his family, broken, real, and healing, and he was home. Derek quietly opened the door to his father's room. The soft light from the bedside lamp revealed Samuel asleep in a worn-out chair. In his lap lay an old photo album, its pages spread wide. Pictures of dusty truck stops, weathered road maps, and a young Derek holding trophies smiled back at him. On the last page, a simple note was scrawled in faded ink. Every mile was for you. Without making a sound, Derek moved closer and gently rested his head on Samuel's shoulder. The weight of years and regrets melted into that quiet moment. Samuel's eyes fluttered open. He looked at his son and whispered, "You came back." Derek smiled softly. "You never left." They sat together in silence, sharing warm food and unspoken forgiveness. No grand words, no celebrations, just a plate, a seat at the table, and a second chance. Love didn't need fanfare, it only needed presence. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that hit where it hurt and heal where it matters, where